All cameras have a footage counter. Here are a few different types, but they're all basically the same. They go from 0 to 50. They're supposed to indicate how much you've shot. Whenever you open the film door, however, the scale gets reset to 0. So if you have to take the cartridge out, the camera doesn't know how much was already shot on that roll of film. It just starts again at 0. Anyway, the footage counter is not really your friend in terms of film transport, because it will keep accumulating regardless of whether the camera has jammed or not. What we're really interested in is something that will indicate whether the film is actually moving. And many cameras have what I call a film transport indicator. Preferably, these film transport indicators are inside the viewfinder. Here are some inside a few different cameras. Sometimes you've got a flashing LED. Sometimes you've got a little circle that goes black periodically, like it blinks. Sometimes it's just something that moves up and down, like in this example. Sometimes with some Canon cameras, it's just a little white dot on the outside of the camera that goes around in a circle in a little window, and that's a bit annoying because it's on the outside. Some other Canon cameras have a zebra. This 814 has a zebra that moves backwards and forwards. Actually, it also has a red LED in the viewfinder that blinks. And some cameras don't have one. How do the film transport indicators work? They are connected to the core turning device in the camera. Here's a different one. Oh, actually, you can't see this one because it's a rear door camera, but it's in here. There's the core turning device. For illustration purposes, it's much easier to stick with a side door camera, though all cameras have it. So there are two places in a cartridge of Super 8 where the camera will be moving the film, advancing the film. The claw pulls down one frame of film at a time. Pulls it down and it goes around like this. This here I call the core, and this has to be rotated by the camera as well to take up the film that's being pulled down by the claw. So there's the claw and there's the core, right? The claw pulls down one frame, and a device that turns this core rotates this core. And this is the rotation, this is the core turning device inside a camera. As you can see, it rotates, but it's able to be stopped. The reason it's able to be stopped is because it's on a slip clutch that allows the core turning device to rotate at different speeds depending on how much film has already been taken up. Because as the amount of film that's being taken up increases, the diameter of the film in there increases, and so it needs to rotate more slowly to take up the same amount of film. So that's why this thing is on a slip clutch. The transport indicators are always connected to the movement. The transport indicators are always connected to the movement of this core turning device. And if that stops moving, the blinking or the flashing will stop. You should try it yourself. Look through the viewfinder of your camera, squeeze the trigger, and then stop the core turning device with your finger, and see the transport indicator that might be doing something like this stop moving until you let go, and then it starts moving again. And it could stop here or stop here. If it's a blinking LED, it could stop with the light on or with the light off. So a transport indicator will tell you whether this thing is rotating. One problem is rear door cameras. With rear door cameras, the teeth of the core turning device have to be on a spring, so they have to be able to retract so that you can slide the cartridge in past it, and then they have to go back into the cartridge. And the problem here is that it's possible to insert the cartridge in such a way that the teeth of the core turning device miss or don't retract far enough, or the cartridge is too loose in the chamber, and so the teeth just miss the inside here, in which case the teeth will still rotate, but you may not be moving, the film may not be moving, the actual core may not be being rotated. So that's a danger. And the only solution I can come up with for that is when you load a rear door camera, slam that in really hard, you can see here a certain amount of play. slide a business card in down one side, and that should reduce that amount of play and make sure that the teeth are meeting the core. But if you don't have a film transport indicator, or even if you do, the best transport indicator is your ear, listening to the sound difference between when the camera isn't advancing the film and when it is. And the difference in sound is a little bit subtle. So listen to these two recordings. Firstly, there's the sound of a camera where the cartridge is already finished. So this is what it will sound like. This is what this particular camera sounds like when there's a finished cartridge or a jammed cartridge in it. And now we'll listen to the sound of a camera when it's actually transporting film. So you've got a cartridge in there and it's not a finished cartridge. And the difference in sound is you can hear what you heard before, but you can also hear something a bit like the sound of a cat purring underneath. So listen for that cat purring. If you have the cat purring sound, then you know film is actually moving.